On this episode, we're talking about CrossFit.
And some insider design tips.
Hey everybody, it's Matt Ingram.
And Allie Blom.
And welcome today. We are really excited. We've got Michelle Lambert with us as our guest today.
Hello.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
So we've known Michelle for how long now?
Almost
8
7
years?
yeah.
Yeah, so we met at CrossFit, right?
Yes.
She
Everyone
came into
loves
the cult.
CrossFit.
Yeah, she came into the cult, and our lives have never been the same ever since, right?
Truth.
Correct.
I know.
Once you're in the cult, it's like
No getting out.
no, none.
Stuck for life.
No.
Fitness
You
for
are.
life.
It is true. It is a little bit,
No, not
it's not
cultish.
cult.
No, I
No.
mean, we really just
Not
want
at
you to be
all.
the best you can be.
that's what it's
Absolutely.
about.
There's nothing wrong
Living
with
your
that.
best life every
That's
day.
right. That's right.
Eating good, working out.
Yeah. You still count your macros?
I'm doing good on the macros. Apparently now the trainers got me on the carb cycling, which
Oh.
is where you do 3 days of low carb and then 1 day of high. But I have a really hard time with that because on Friday it's always like a fun day, and I want to like
Not have a low
Eat
carb
all the
day.
things.
I want to have not low carb things. So I told him, I was like, can I do 4 low and 1 high? So he's modifying it for me. But
To
anyway,
fit your lifestyle. Yeah.
I tried to explain to him. I said, I don't think you understand what you're trying to do with me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The macros, it's hard too to keep count. I mean, it just takes time.
No,
I guess like
find
anything
that-
else.
I like it. I find
Yeah.
it very easy.
I'm either
like
on
when-
or I'm off though.
I'm not about macros.
You are the paleo lifestyle.
I am the paleo, but not macros.
Which I liked paleo, and yes, I could do it. I could, but I did miss like the little like pita bread or some like a potato or some rice every
Yeah.
once in a while.
Or just a sandwich,
Yeah.
just some bread.
Although you did post that really awesome, was it like a sweet potato soup or something the other
Oh,
night?
sweet potato noodles.
Oh my God, how do you even do that? Like, I saw it and I was like, immediately had to know.
Yeah, so I typically find in Google and Pinterest a bunch of different recipes,
Yeah.
read about it, and then I'm like, I would like to not have this in there, but I would like to have something else. So it's a little experiment
Yes.
going on.
But how do you make a sweet potato noodle? Like,
Oh, girl.
tell me. Do we have enough time for this?
Yes, we might not. You use a spiralizer.
Yikes.
Spiralizer.
Oh, is that like
You can
when you have
spiralize
the apple
anything.
and you, we have one of those. My kids always want to use it.
So you can do it too.
You can do it too.
Thank God, I was nervous. I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. I always see the pictures you post of food, and I'm always jealous because about that time my kids are screaming. And it's just crazy. And then I see this picture that came out of like 16, 18 or something like it's just
So
like perfect.
beautiful.
Definitely not 16, 18.
I'm like, man.
Oh,
Or,
goodness.
but you know, just like some nice restaurant that it's like, and then I
Yeah.
look at, I'm just like, wow.
What I'm serving to my
Yeah.
children. Yes,
Yeah.
and you also post really amazing pictures of office spaces and places that you do
Yes,
work for, which I always love immediately, every single one. Food and
Thank
office
you.
spaces.
Thank you.
Because
Yeah.
it does. You have a really good eye. So.
Yeah. She's got a lot of great talent. And so she's an interior designer, and she has her own firm here in town. And you've gotten a lot of great awards and things like that. You've done corporate, commercial side, residential. So tell us a little bit
Absolutely.
about what you do.
Yeah, so I have been on my own for just over 6 years now. Been in the industry for 12, but went out on my own because I really wanted a lot more control over my life, what my professional goals were. So I have, over the past 6 years, just really spent a lot of time thinking about what I want to do and have experienced some really great projects, really great clients here in the Triad, from residential, like you said, all the way up to corporate, government, hospitality. So it's been a great journey.
Nice.
Done it all. And I always like, one, you have a great eye for things. And then two, I feel like it's always super organized and it's like gonna get done. It's like,
Yeah.
if you throw something out there, it's like, we know who to go to get something
Downfalls
done.
of that type A personality,
Well, we
man.
just talked about this. I said I have this space in my house, and it might just, it's ridiculous, but it might just seem so easy to somebody to say, hey, I just throw a couple chairs there. But like she said one thing to me, I was struggling with like, is it 2, is it 4 chairs? She's like, just do 3. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that made
we
so much
sketched it
sense.
out.
And she drew me a little sketch.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes perfect sense. So I'm excited. I appreciate
I feel like how many sketches have you sent out? Because I feel like, hey, Michelle, I got this idea. And next thing you know, I have a whole floor plan and everything's done up and it's in my inbox like 5 minutes later.
It's just how my brain works.
Yeah.
Pros, cons,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
But that's so good because our brains don't work that way. And I mean, to some degree they do. And like we'll walk into a house and we're able to tell clients like, hey, why don't you declutter or do this or that? And a lot of times when we say those words, like a lot of times it's nice to have somebody who really can explain what decluttering means and moving furniture and using the assets that you have to like create a better space. So I think that's a lot about what we'll talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why I'm excited to have you on, because I think one of the things that really gets us going and excites us, of course, working with buyers, but then working with the sellers and getting things ready. It does have a little bit more of a project aspect, because most of the time I think people live in their home differently than if they go to sell their home,
Absolutely.
right?
yeah.
So the dynamic's a little different. So it gives us an opportunity to go in and make some suggestions and things like that. And I know, I've called on you numerous times to say, hey, what do you think about this space or that? So I'm excited to hear a lot about what you have to say, not just for people that are looking to sell today, but also people that are out there, they're in their home, they're sort of thinking about how they can make that space their own and some of the things they can do. So I feel like a good place to start is talking a little bit about design trends.
Yeah,
Like, what are you seeing?
What's cool like right now?
So design trends, gray is the thing right now, right? So we've gone kind of from this evolution to all the browns, the beige, the tan, and now it's all about that fresh gray and white and neutral palette. So that is what I'm seeing across the board, corporate and residential. Everybody wants this fresh, neutral palette. So light grays, bright whites, that really nice kind of light oaky floor that you can pull tan or gray, but just keeping it super, super neutral.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that color too, it just brightens up a lot. Sometimes people hear gray and they think dark, but it really brightens everything up, makes it a lot bigger, it seems like, as well.
Yeah, and gray is a great color. Agreeable gray is probably my favorite color across the board. If anybody ever asks me what color to go with, it's always agreeable gray. It's just a great neutral. It doesn't pull yellow, it doesn't pull brown, it can pull basically any color you want. It's just
I learned
super
a lot
agreeable.
about color family groups when we bought a house. Like, I mean, I am like a chemistry person before I became a realtor, which makes no sense anyway. But I learned about family color groups, and I said, hey, why don't we do this color for the exterior and this color for the windows? And he's like, that's not going to work. So, if you have the gray, like, talk about, like, what kind of accents you can use for that. Can you use almost anything, or?
I think gray is a good base, right? So agreeable gray or any shade of gray you might go with, you can pull in any color. And what I always tell people, whether it's residential clients or corporate clients, is if we can keep the base of this base super neutral, we can always throw in accents or trendy things with your accessories, with your upholstery, with artwork, lamps, light fixtures, something that's really easy to swap out and change out with trends and with seasons. So yeah, I think the huge perk and benefit of that light gray is you can pull literally almost any color
As opposed to the 90s when we had like dark maroon, and then you're like, what
and that
do
What do you
hunter
do there?
green.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I had a Kelly green kitchen.
Oh,
And I'm Irish,
Bring
and
it
I
back.
love
Yeah.
that Kelly green kitchen with the white cabinets. But I'm looking back on it now and thinking I'm ready.
Oof.
Like the gray is just one little thing, it just brightened it up so much.
and that modern farmhouse trend right now is so strong. Thank you, Joanna Gaines.
Farmhouse,
You know,
Every-
man.
Thank you.
Every house, no, hold on.
Time out.
Look, so every time we go into a house, I swear it's a farmhouse.
Doesn't matter if it's a
just
split
like,
level.
this is a beautiful farmhouse.
Right.
And Tyler knows. It's like, how should we talk about this? It's farmhouse.
It's farmhouse.
Brick ranch,
Yeah,
Farmhouse.
yeah,
Traditional,
exactly,
hey,
exactly,
farmhouse.
yeah.
It's a farmhouse. Everyone's talking about
man.
farmhouse. Why not make
That's,
it a farmhouse?
it's so trendy, but I think if you look at farmhouse, the farmhouse style that Chip and Joanna Gaines have so well branded, it's neutral. Everything
Correct, yeah.
in those houses is neutral. It
And
is
it's
white,
traditional.
It's gray. Yeah,
So you can't go wrong with traditional. It's going to always come back.
not a lot of fluff, really straightforward.
Yeah.
I agree.
And so that's great on the paint side and just the overall theme of the home. What do you see, if for people out there maybe thinking about more expensive remodels, say a bathroom or kitchen, what are some things there that they can do that they may not regret in 5 years? Anything you're seeing trend wise?
I think, larger format ceramic tiles are really in right now versus a smaller, like 12 by 12, a 12 by 24, or something that emulates a wood plank is really in trend right now, but it's not too trendy that in 10 years you're going to be like, dang it, this sucks, I need to rip up all my tile again. So keeping it, again, really neutral subway tile is a really, really great way to update a bathroom or a kitchen. It comes in a million different colors now, but a white subway is always going to be that timeless.
So like wider, longer.
Yeah,
piece?
so a 3x6 is your kind of traditional subway tile. You can get it in a 4x12 or 6x16 or 6x18 kind of size right now, and you can go horizontal to your countertop. You can go vertical. There's a lot of really great things you can do with a good timeless subway.
So you said large format. Is that what you mean? Just like
different sizes. So mostly, if you go in a traditional home, you're going to see a 12 by 12, 8 by 8, 6 by 6, a square. So larger format, more of that plank. Something that's rectangular versus a square.
And we are seeing that a lot of times with like the builders now, like they're doing a wider plank floor, and then like you said, the larger subway tile and things for the backsplash. So
Absolutely.
I'm seeing like herringbone patterns and backsplash,
I like that.
things like that. It looks cool.
It does look cool.
Yeah.
I think you just have to be careful. You got to make sure that if you're going to spend the extra money for that kind of install detail, that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck. So I would never recommend to put a herringbone in like a really small, tiny space that you're really not going to get that pattern and get that real big wow visual from what herringbone does.
So like a half bath, probably not.
Probably not.
Yep, something like maybe your master bath on the floor
yes,
or backsplash
absolutely.
or your shower. Maybe?
Yeah, but half bath, something that is kind of a new tile size, is a hexagon, which I'm all about these days.
Yeah.
So still keeping with a really traditional color like white or black or just a medium gray, but that's kind of a really fun, playful
I love
shape.
how you go into like the older homes in Ardmore and they're traditional. They're so traditional, and you see that great floor. It's like that black and white hexagon tile on the
Classic.
floor, like so classic. And now that's like cool again.
Yes.
So I love how that's coming back, and it is. It's, I don't know.
For sure. One thing Colby, my husband, and I have done is we've had the opportunity to travel around quite a bit, and we always try to find parade of homes or open houses that we can go into because we're getting ready to build our own house. And the common theme, no matter where we are in the U.S., is just really clean, really simple, and a lot of these herringbone patterns are coming up in larger spaces, maybe a foyer. You put your wood floors on a herringbone, which is gorgeous. The hexagons and half baths just kind of...
We were so close.
They were close. That's why I looked at her, because she was, I think, real close on
We
it.
have a brick entry, and I had like a herringbone brick laid out, but I think it was a little above like the realm of like what our vendor felt comfortable with, and I wanted him to just like do it, so we ended up just going like normal, but
Yeah.
I still love it, but
It's
that herringbone.
It's a killer look.
But then again, that rolls into like that's very specialized too, so you want to make sure that the person that you have doing the work is someone that's going to do it correctly. So when you have that pretty style, you're not looking at it and it's all irregular.
Oh, absolutely. Your installer is going to be your best friend.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen that before. Remember with Cindy? I know she ran into that issue
She
with
did.
the wavy lines on the tile. Didn't look too good.
Oh,
I
no.
know she was a little disappointed with that. So it does. I mean, so how do you go about, while we're talking about that, since it's such an important part, how do you go about finding a good installer or supplier or something like that?
I think always the best way is a referral. If you can find a vendor or an installer that comes with a really great referral from someone you trust and know, that's always number one. If you're just kind of doing a quick Google search or call someone up, I always am like, I need pictures. I need photos of your installs. I want to see the quality of work that you're putting up beforehand. And usually, if you can just tell by if you just call someone up on the phone, if they know what they're talking about or not.
Well, they probably can talk the language too with you, and they are a professional. And sometimes we did talk about this on one of our other shows, that like sometimes it just really is worth it to give that little extra money to like get it done the way you want it done, because
Absolutely.
if not, then you'll be frustrated with it, and then you have to
Yes.
tear it out and do it all over again, spend more money.
Yes, you definitely get what you pay for, and I talk about that so much with clients. It's you only want to spend so much money, but you truly do get what you pay for. And I tell people all the time, like, this vendor might be cheaper, but I can promise you and put my name by that if you go with someone that's a little bit more expensive, you will have no regrets. There will be no problems. They'll be on schedule. They will stay on budget.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone else might come in a little cheaper, but might have a little bit more bumps in the road.
Yeah,
And
I
then in
think
the long
too,
run.
it changes a little bit given your goals too. So if you're sitting here trying to remodel a home that you just moved into or you've been in for a while and it just sort of needs some freshening up, then you're going to want to go that route. If you're looking to sell, then sometimes you still need to make sure it's good quality, or else you're putting money out there
Sure,
and
absolutely.
and it's gone. But you're also looking at money going out, right, versus what's going to come back in.
Absolutely. When you're getting ready to sell your house and you're wanting to do that refresh, you want to put in as little as possible to get the biggest bang for your buck, right? So sometimes that super high professional quality might not be the top of the priority list. Not to make that sound like everybody else sucks, but
So what would you recommend to people? I mean, I know we always say kitchens and bathrooms, but like, how can you do it on a budget? So it's like, hey, I'm not going to look at this bathroom for the next 20 years, but I want to make sure that the next couple or family that buys this house is happy with what we've done.
Yeah, material selection would be the number one thing I would say. I think
Okay.
you can get really caught up in going into a tile showroom and being drawn to all the pretty, shiny things, right? So going in and knowing right up and being very direct with that supplier, saying, this is how much I want to spend. You have to keep me in this budget. I don't want to
Sure.
be led astray. And you might be drawn to something that's marble or granite or something that is more of an intricate shape that's going to require a lot more labor. So just, being upfront. Simple is always better. If you're just wanting to sell your home, refresh your backsplash, touch up those bathrooms, clean, simple, don't get too fancy. Just keep
Exactly, too, because you're also not super sure about what the next buyer might want. So if you do get really intricate with it, they may not be interested in what that style is, and you just spent all that money. So going back to traditional, like you said, like these real clean whites and grays is going to be probably your best bet.
Yeah, and I think that's hard sometimes because people still live there. They're like, well, this is my home, and then this is, what they say, oh, well, this is my taste. And while it may look really great for them and fit with their lifestyle, you hit the nail on the head. You got to think about the other people that are coming in. So it's almost like that's at the point where you're starting to detach yourself from the home a little bit.
And I
right?
think
When
you
you
have
come
to.
in to do that, because you're now getting yourself in a situation. How do we manage this process? How do we appeal to the masses, if you will, to try and get you the best, return and things like that?
And I think that's hard. Your home is your home. You have memories there. You've put your blood, sweat, and tears into that. And but when you're wanting to sell your home and do those refreshes, you kind of almost have to just emotionally detach, right? And just think of, okay, if I'm a buyer, what do I want to see in a home, right? So neutral. I want to be able to walk in that home and be able to envision raising my family here, not see their family here, right? So it's about leaving it clean, leaving it neutral, leaving it simple, giving that buyer the opportunity to envision their life in that space.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you're fine.
Sorry.
You good?
Allergies. No, but that's true. It is hard. Moving is a very crazy process, and a lot of that goes into, especially if you're in a home forever, it is. And you could get slightly offended thinking like, oh, if we come in, or if we have Michelle come in and walk through rooms with you and say, hey, maybe change this up or do this, and you thought, oh my goodness, I love this rooster wallpaper and I loved it my entire life. I can't believe no one else will love it.
Right.
You have to keep an open mind, and you do. That detachment is part of the letting go process of the one home and moving on to the next station in your life. So
Yeah, and that's part of the hard conversation, I think, that when we have to go in. But, as professionals, that's the conversation that we have to have up front, have to be honest. And because people are tied to their possessions, whether it's, maybe a little bit too much furniture or, a couple other items where you're like, hey, we need to make some adjustments. And it's, I think it's difficult, but it's something that you have to have, because we're walking in and we have no emotional ties. We're more purely objective. You all right over there? You all right over there?
Maybe I
Need
just-
some water?
I might need a little water.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the allergies are.
Yeah.
goodness.
The pollen's tough these
Get
days.
it together. I have no water in my purse. I have green beans and turkey, but I have no water. There's guacamole in there. Matt, do you have water?
I think there is some water, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like
It
to
was
have
in
a
my
water.
car for a while today. It's just a little warm.
I'm looking
Lukewarm.
forward to
but
that.
but yeah, Yeah, so
Thank
it's
you, Tyler. I'm sorry.
but it is. I told you it was warm.
This is like the coffee, like in the morning. I'm sorry, sidebar. In the morning, I'm running late, and I run in. I'm like, gosh, I could really use a coffee. Matt's like, here's the rest of mine. It's this much left
Like, just
in
a
a
sip.
Starbucks cup, and I'm like,
Yeah.
not gonna have that.
Well, I mean, you asked. I just,
Backwash coffee.
yeah, I mean, I could have said no. At least I offered something, but whatever. So
I'm just gonna go ahead and leave that right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
she might need that more.
Sorry.
But it is, getting back to when you first walk in, especially, you're having conversations with people that are a little difficult because they're already going through so much emotionally. Like, we think we want to sell. Let's talk to somebody. This person comes in their house and it's like, okay, it's great. Let's start talking about things, and we need to move this and move that. And part of it is you're going to move it anyway. Yeah, that's what I always tell people. Eventually. So let's put ourselves in the best position to do some of these things by making some suggestions here and there, but still allowing them to live their life, because they still have to live there in many cases, right? And so if it's like your favorite chair, or if it's something that's really important, we don't want to rearrange those things, but we do want to make the space, I think, so people can envision it. So talk to us a little bit about space and furniture arrangement and things that you're seeing.
And you hit it right. Residential is so much more emotional. So that's just something when you go into one of those types of projects or situations, you just have to have that at the forefront of your brain. But I think when you're staging a home, when you're getting ready to sell a home, you want to show off that homeowner's personality in the space, just kind of maybe tone it down a little bit. So going in and looking at some rooms, you might have a ton of kids, or you might entertain all the time, and so you have a little bit extra furniture, but kind of reducing some of that clutter, eliminating some of the mess, taking some of the decorations and the decor off of built-ins, so that when that buyer walks in, they have the best first impression of your house. So maximizing your space would be one really great way to do that. So looking at your furniture arrangement, how can we kind of shift things around, reorganize things, maybe pull a chair from another room so that your family room looks amazing and looks great and gives a killer first impression. Or looking at your built-ins by your fireplace and pulling out the 100 family photos that you might have from some amazing trips that have awesome memories, but maybe we should just pull some of those off so that buyer walks in and they can envision their family photos on those shelves versus yours.
I agree. And a lot of times when you go into a house, you have an idea in your brain about, like, oh my goodness, it's got to be like this. This all has to be like this. This is kind of what we're struggling with, like, just moving into our home now. We've been in it about a month now, and things are starting to settle into the way we live. And I'm thinking, when we first walked into that house, oh my goodness, like, maybe we can't have this because it's not like this. And that's why I try to explain to buyers, and we're going to try to help sellers, like, get it ready to be as neutral as possible. But as you start to live in the home, you have to kind of look past maybe sometimes if sellers don't neutralize it as much as they possibly can. We'll try to do our best to get it to that point, but being able to look past, some wallpaper or different things like that, and know that the bones of the house are really great, and the location is what you want, so that you can agree on a home together, especially in this market, because it's kind of crazy.
And I think that as a buyer going in, things like, this half bath might have some real tasteful wallpaper, that's something that can be easily changed though, right? So, if a homeowner doesn't want to rip all that up day one, no big deal. That's an easy fix for a buyer to change out.
And sometimes as you start to live in your home, you do realize that the things that you thought were so paramount aren't. You kind of just start rolling with it, and you live your life, and you're like, you know what, I kind of like that. I'm okay with it.
Become a really good conversation.
Yes,
that's
I
right.
really like that furry green wallpaper.
Oh my gosh,
Furry?
one of the houses we grew up in had black toilets.
Oh my goodness.
Gold hardware, and I mean,
That's
killer.
Nice. I saw a house recently with a brown toilet. I was thinking,
Really?
yes.
Brown?
yeah, it's kind of creepy.
I've only ever seen brown.
I don't think I could get used to a brown toilet, honestly, but maybe. You never know.
Yeah. It might be tough. I don't even know how you say
Don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah.
Yep, next show.
Just moving right along.
Just toilets in general.
Oh my goodness, but yeah, it is. I think at the end of the day, what you're trying to do as a seller is to tap into emotion, right? Because I feel like that information is what gets a buyer to your door, right? The size of the home, the location, things like that. But it's when they open that door, if you can do things that tap into the emotion, because that's when decisions are made.
Of course.
Not saying that logic doesn't come into it, and different factors, but when they walk in and they just feel that certain way, that's what you're really looking for.
And a really good thing to definitely think about as a buyer or seller, or if you just want to refresh your home, is that curb appeal that I think sometimes you definitely want to
Let's talk about the outside of the house.
Refresh that interior, but the outside is definitely, it's your first impression. So like when I met Matt, for instance, at CrossFit, my
I don't even know where this is going.
The warehouse was probably amazing.
It just got me right
It
there.
just got you, yeah. Next thing you know, she joined up, man. She
Right,
never
7
looked
years
back.
later, it's all history.
Oh,
But the exterior of your home is your first impression, right?
Yeah.
So the warehouse is
that warehouse, and gosh, I remember I called you and talked to you on the phone and was like, oh, well, I'm going to come straight from work. Do you guys have like locker rooms or whatever? And you're like, no, but we've got bathrooms, but the locks don't work. But I'll stand guard for you. I was like, yes, this
Do you
is my
have
group.
air conditioning?
No,
No,
air
you're
conditioning.
just gonna
not
sweat
a lick.
all day.
Nope.
Yeah.
None of that.
In the winter, do you have heat?
No.
No to that either.
But a bullet heater that smells like kerosene will
yes,
do.
warm
Just
you
don't
right
bump
up.
into it. You'll be fine. Yeah.
Just make sure the doors are all open.
So let's maybe not do those things
Right.
when we go to Liz's house. Yes.
Yeah, but it is important, I think, doing those things, putting out whether it's fresh pine needles or mulch or some of
Right.
those things. Pressure wash is a big one. Right, I
wash
think
is
so some of those little things, and I think that's one of the things we always do is when we go in to look at a home, we go through, we make lists, right? Because we're walking through and we're thinking of things in our head. But I always approach it, and I know Allie does too, is saying, hey, we're making this list, but it's not like we have to do all this.
Right.
But what we do is we say, hey, let's get some quotes. Let's see, like, what of this can you do? Like, let's look at the whole picture, and then we say, well, it makes sense to do these things. These things, it doesn't matter. Right? And so you work through that to try and show the home in its best light.
When you walk right up to the door, and honestly, as a realtor, when I go and I get that key out of the lockbox and I go to stick it right in the door, like, honestly, if there's crusty paint like on the door, and you look at the threshold, and this happens on 90% of home inspections, the little pieces on the side of the threshold are already rotten out. Like, those are things that as realtors we can walk and say to you, hey, let's have this, which comes up on 90% of home inspections, fixed right now and freshly painted, and maybe change the locks. So that someone comes up, boom, they walk right in. They're not struggling with the door. It's not an awkward situation. Put some pretty plants out front.
Yes.
That first moment when they open the door for the first time, it makes a huge impression, I think.
Absolutely. I
so-
agree. And it could be something really inexpensive, right? No one's saying you have to completely gut your whole front yard and put new sod out and put all new plants in. It could just be like, make sure your grass is always cut and manicured well, or buy some really nice cost-effective planters and put some fresh annuals in there. Just freshen it up. Paint that front door.
Yeah. And that's a lot of times when we ask people too, it's like, hey, what would your budget to be to get ready to put your house on the market? And then we can help you stay within that. And I know you could help us with pointers on that too.
Yeah, and too, sometimes we have contractors that, because you hear that and people say, oh, my budget to sell, I'm worried about my budget to buy, right? And so it really confuses people, and they're like, oh, I'm scared. If I got to pay money, I don't want to do it, right? But again, we're all looking at this with the big picture, and too, we have contractors that are like, hey, I'll take payment at closing. It's fine. Yeah, and so it really allows us to work within the framework to get you the most money for your home, but yet do it in a way where you're not having to pay right away. Yeah, so I think that really helps a lot.
And a lot of times those little things that we can do that are not super expensive and you can possibly pay for at closing when you get your proceeds are going to give you way more return on your home, so you can put it into your next home.
Yeah, well, we saw that with Alex's house. Michelle worked with us on a project that we took a home. It just needed some freshening up, right? And we had them come in and we looked at budgets, and we said, hey, look, can we do this? Can we do that? And she helped us with picking out some selections, and the guy made a lot more money just by doing some of these things, and at the same time, he didn't have to shell it all out right when the work was being done. So, we know that it works, but it's all part putting a plan together. I think if you
And
will.
it's sometimes just shifting your perspective, right? Instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to shell out all this money day one, it's I'm putting in a little bit money right now that I'm going to get X% back at closing, and I'm going to be able to sell my house faster, and, you know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
shifting your mindset.
No, absolutely. And so would you say, do you have any tips or resources or like hacks or anything for people, whether they're in a home now that they're just continuing to make their own, or whether they're, you know, thinking about selling, anything like that?
Yeah, so I would say what I use professionally a lot as kind of a trick, and I don't even know if I should say this, stone manufacturers are going to come kill me. So many solid surface manufacturers have remnant pieces that I call on all the time. And so it's they're doing a big job and they have leftover slabs of X material, and they don't just throw that away, right? So they keep this inventory of remnant stock solid surface. And so I use that all day long for clients that just have a small remodel and, oh, I only need just, you know, a few square feet of a solid surface. You can call on that stone manufacturer and say, I'm just doing a small space. What remnant pieces might you have that I could come in and check out? And it's going to end up saving you a lot of money. You can usually get a much better piece of material than you might have originally thought. So that would kind of be my insider's trick.
And you, I'm sure, because you have special like pools, different places can buy materials at different places. But do you have any that are open to the public that are your favorite that you can say, hey, go here because they have really great people or they have really great materials
So
and prices?
I've worked a lot with Mainland Stoneworks, which is in Kernersville. I know that's who I referred you for, that one job. And they're really, really great. They're so easy to work with. They have great staff. They'll let you just come through, go to the back of the manufacturing plant and pick out those
In the
remnants.
remnant area.
Yeah.
It's a money-saving area.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
it.
I mean, but you know, if you're just redoing a bathroom and need a 5-foot piece of granite, they might just have some random slab
Sure.
right there that has the right amount of space you need.
Or a half bath. Like a lot of times you have these half bath with culture marble and you want to get rid of that and just do something pretty. I mean, that's tiny. So it's like one little sink.
Yeah.
You could do that, and it changes and paint the bottom of
that
thing,
cabinet,
change
yeah.
your fixture and frame your mirror, and we're done.
That's another really great kind of tip. If you're wanting a really quick refresh, cabinets are expensive, right? So not everybody wants to rip out their cabinets, but giving that old like oak cabinet a nice fresh coat of white paint, navy paint, you know, is
Yeah, the Navy.
really
yeah.
pretty.
I'm cool. I
Yeah.
didn't even.
Yeah.
You know, Sally's a trendsetter over here.
Yeah. But that white, it really brightens up. Yeah, that's what we did in Alex's house, and I think it was amazing the difference in that kitchen, just because you've got these, you know, oak cabinets, and they're pretty. It's that classic look, but you know, now a lot of people like the white into just that bigger open space, and it really made a huge difference. I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So cool. So any other suggestions or
tricks.
tips or anything?
I would say probably something that's kind of a hidden gem, Furnitureland South, which I know to most people is probably extremely overwhelming because it's so huge and there's a million buildings. But tucked back in that property is their kind of clearance center.
I need you to go there with me.
Yes,
We need
I'll
to
go
go
there.
trip, a day trip.
It is amazing.
Yes.
So the best time to go is right after spring and fall market. So they will get
Sure.
all of the showroom samples from spring and fall
So,
market.
like now?
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
That would
Pretty
be a
much
great
now,
time.
yeah.
The other trick for Furnitureland South, I would say, is all those price tags that are on all the pieces of furniture might not be the exact price. So insider scoop, if you take your smartphone and open the camera and scan the QR code on that tag, it will pop up a website link, and every 30 days the price of that furniture will drop. So it might say $2,000 for X piece of furniture, but it's been on the floor for 120 days, so it might only be $1,200. So always take a picture of that tag.
Yeah, it's nice. Jen and I got some stuff from that outlet not long ago, just because if you have some time and you're flexible and open to what you may put in there, I mean, it's great. And it's even the outlet is bigger than
It's
probably
still
any
3
furniture
stores
store.
with
It's probably bigger
floors,
than any
yeah.
other furniture store around, right? So there's a lot. Like Furnitureland South is its own
City.
Yeah.
Like
Beast,
world.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Thank God there's a Starbucks in there.
Praise
you know?
the Lord, right
But-
at the entrance.
Yeah.
I like the
But-
big chair.
I know, yeah. She wants to get on top of it. Just-
Hey, well, hey. You
Yeah.
never
To
know.
each their own.
Yeah, but But it's huge. But I find myself all the time just going, and it's right in our backyard. It's such a great spot, and
It
you know
is.
you can just swing over there, let's see what they have, come back a few weeks later, and they always have new stuff. So
And
it's
that's
cool.
the beauty of it. I mean, you could just, if you have like an hour to kill on a Saturday or Sunday, you can just kind of peruse through there and find some really, really great steals.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
awesome. I think we got like a lot of good little insider tips.
No, I think we
Yep.
did too. And how can people get in touch with you? Because, you know, if someone has some ideas, like I want to do something to this space, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
You know, or hey, you know, we're thinking about this type of project. How can they get in touch with you and find out more how you can
Yeah,
help?
you can always email me at michelle@lambertdg.com, or you can always call me. I don't know if I should give myself.
Yeah.
Well,
You can email me. An email sounds like a
find her on
Saturday.
Facebook.
Yeah, you can email me probably, and then you can always find me on Instagram and Facebook, Lambert.
Or you can ask Matt and I,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
can
Call
hook
them.
you
They
up
can do
with
that.
All these
yeah.
guys.
We won't throw your number out there.
Yeah, just text her.
It
She's
is on
fine.
the, yeah. That could lead to
man.
some weird calls.
Yeah, you never know. But we appreciate you being on. I think
course.
it brings
Thanks
a lot
for
of
having
value.
me.
We appreciate you helping us with some of the projects we've done and look forward to many more. So we hope you guys have enjoyed it. I know we have, and see you next time.